Okay, thank you everyone for joining. This is our third session of the Catch a Contact Virtual Career Exploration Series. And today we're going to be diving into transferable skills and how you can apply them to the cannabis industry. Today I have with me um, my partner, Jemani Hughes, from New York State Cannabis Connect.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Tiffany.
And I also have Danielle Burson Kaufman from the New York State Department of Labor's Career Education Employment Development Team, and Christopher Gage as well. Thank you both for joining us today. And
Thank you.
so, like I said, this is our third session. So if you joined us in the past weeks, the first session was all about roles in cannabis, and we explored all the different opportunities and what type of roles fell under what type of license types. The last session we did 2 weeks ago, we explored ancillary and those roles and how they supported cannabis. And so today we're going to dive into those transferable skills. And we're really excited for this. We have a workshop planned for you today so that you can discover your own transferable skills. And so we are going to get started since we have a lot going on today. And so I'm going to pass it to Daniel and Christopher, and they're going to lead us in their presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tiffany. Thank you, Jemani and New York State Cannabis Connect. Really appreciate the opportunity to join you today, and thanks to everybody in attendance for being here. Hope this is a great session. No, it will be. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we'll kick things off. As Tiffany mentioned, my name is Dan Kaufman Burson. I'm with the New York State Department of Labor's Cannabis Employment and Education Development Unit, or CEED unit. If you joined session 1 of this great virtual series, I was with you then. I'm here with my colleague, Chris Gage, from the Department of Labor's Business Engagement Team. And what we're going to do is spend about 20 minutes or so providing a quick recap on information on the Department of Labor, our resources in the CEED unit, in case anybody on this session currently was not in session 1 and didn't get to hear that information. Just want to make sure everybody has a chance to understand how the Department of Labor and CEED can help them as they look for work in the cannabis industry. And then we'll share some information on transferable skills in general, and also how they apply to getting into the industry. So let's kick things off. So again, for anybody that missed session 1, just wanted to quickly recap our cannabis work at the Department of Labor and Department of Labor resources in general. Just making sure I'm good. Just checking the chat, make sure we're all good. Looks like there was some audio problems, but we're all good. So just want to make sure that everybody understands the Department of Labor resources available and CEED's work in general, so you know where we're coming from. So the Cannabis Employment and Education Development Unit, or CEED unit, was created to focus on cannabis specifically as it relates to labor. And you can really think of CEED as your cannabis resource at the Department of Labor. We're doing a lot of things statewide, but generally speaking, we're doing the things that we've listed here on the slide, really working to help build out an equitable workforce in the cannabis industry, really working to highlight opportunity in the emerging adult use market, including increasing participation for groups traditionally underrepresented in cannabis and for communities disproportionately impacted by cannabis prohibition. We're working to identify and track cannabis education programs. I'll tell you how to access those cannabis education programs in a couple of slides. And the last 2 bullets take up a lot of time, quite honestly, a lot of my time, working to really help connect job seekers and businesses with Department of Labor resources and services, which I'll go through briefly in a couple of slides. And then a big part of my job, too, is to help weave cannabis into Department of Labor systems. As you can imagine, with an older, very large state agency, there's a lot that we do, and I'm trying to make sure that people can take advantage of our services regardless of how they're participating in the cannabis industry. So as a quick overview of the Department of Labor, we have 95 career centers across the state. Through those career centers, we serve roughly 500,000 job seekers and 30,000 businesses per year. And this is really just to tell you that we have career centers all across the state, and starting to give you a sense for the number of New Yorkers that we serve on an annual basis. And then through those 95 career centers, those brick and mortar career centers, people can get help with many things related to job searching. And we've listed those here. People can get help with career counseling, job search assistance, writing a resume and cover letter, People can connect to workshops on many topics related to interviewing, looking for work, and networking. People can connect to training opportunities. People can connect to services specifically for veterans, people with disabilities, and individuals who may be justice impacted. And we also have resource rooms in all of our career centers where people can use computers, phones, and even fax machines if those are needed to use for a job search. So I've provided a link at the bottom of this slide, which will take you to our Career Center locator portion of the website. It's a good way to just go and try to find the Career Center closest to you. And again, we have Career Centers spread across the state. If anybody would like help finding their local Career Center, I'm happy to help do that at any point. And one thing we do recommend is that people try to make an appointment before going into one of our career centers, just to make sure that there's somebody available immediately upon you arriving, versus coming in without an appointment. You may have to wait a little while for somebody to be available. But in addition to our physical career centers, we do have some really great online free resources for job seekers. I'm just going to go through them really briefly. First up, our Cannabis Workforce Development website at the Department of Labor, provide a link to it here. On that page, we have short summaries of expected jobs across the cannabis industry, really to give you a sense for what jobs will look like in cannabis. And we actually recently went live with full job descriptions for many cannabis industry jobs to give you a further sense of what it looks like to work in cannabis, so you can make an educated decision about what might be a good fit or what you might be interested in cannabis. I mentioned that we are also tracking cannabis education programs. So we have a list of cannabis-specific programs at SUNYs, CUNYs, community colleges, and private colleges and universities across the state. And we have links to those programs on our Cannabis Workforce Development webpage for anybody that's interested in formal education in cannabis. And then we also have a Finding a Cannabis Job page that is effectively a step-by-step guide for taking somebody through, a self-assessment as to what part of the industry may be of interest to them, all the way through applying for a job, interviewing, and more, and connecting people to resources, both virtual and in person, every step of the way. So some really helpful information there. Next on the list, our virtual career center is, oh, sorry, I clicked through. Go back here. Next on the list, our virtual career center, the Department of Labor, is a great resource for completing a work search, building a resume, understanding gaps and skills that you may have based on a particular job you want to apply for. So that's a great resource. North Star Digital Literacy and Coursera are both online learning platforms. North Star Digital Literacy is focused on helping people develop their computer-based skills, whether it's using physical computer equipment or using particular software on computers. And then Coursera is an online course provider with many, many different topics that are covered. There is some cannabis-specific content on Coursera, but also many, many other skills can be learned through Coursera that can be used to transition into the cannabis industry, which is very appropriate for the topic we're talking about today, transferable skills. It's all about building up skills and figuring out how they transition into the cannabis industry. Coursera is a great way to learn some of those skills. And then finally, Interview Stream is a web-based interview program that people can use to develop their interviewing skills if need be. In addition to our job seeker resources at the Department of Labor, we have an incredible business services team that services businesses all across New York State. They can help businesses with many things, which we've listed here on this slide. They can help businesses post jobs. They can connect businesses to career fairs and custom recruitment and hiring events. They can do a search in our job seeker database to identify candidates whose skills match an individual business's hiring needs. They can help businesses, and this is all including cannabis businesses as well, but they can help businesses navigate tax credits and hiring incentives, especially at the state level. And then they can help businesses understand labor law and regulation in New York State to make sure businesses are being compliant as employers in our state. And next, what we're going to do is we're going to dive a bit more into transferable skills. I'm going to pass things off to my colleague, Chris Gage, to take it away. Please, Chris, take it away.
Thank you, Dan, and good morning, everyone. My name is Chris with the New York State Department of Labor's Business Engagement Team. So we're going to discuss hard and soft skills and transferable skills. This is going to be a really broad overview of hard and soft skills, kind of get you thinking with the cannabis industry. If you've worked maybe outside the cannabis industry, kind of getting you to think about, okay, my hard skills, soft skills, what's the difference? What's the value in both? So hard skills are teachable and measurable abilities. Hard skills can be taught, but the soft skills are often overlooked by many people. So soft skills are skills that make you a good employee, things such as communication, accountability, leadership. And we've been in discussion with businesses many times. If you're flexible, you're an effective communicator, even if you're lacking in certain hard skills, they're willing to take a shot on you. So kind of get a thought process in place. Okay, here's my hard skills. Here's my soft skills. Kind of think of the different industries maybe you've worked in and how that relates to cannabis. And it's important. I try to discuss with individuals kind of developing those soft skills. They're very important. And I even see in today's market, if you're willing to kind of be flexible, a team player, buy into the culture of a business, they're willing to take a shot on you, even if you're lacking in maybe some certain skills that are going to kind of lead you to that next step. They'll train you up. Many organizations have good departments in regards to training and kind of getting you those skills that you need once you do get the job. Now, again, it's important to see the value in both. And I do a lot with resumes as well and kind of incorporating both those hard and soft skills into your resume. So, maybe take some time and kind of, jot down the different hard skills you have, the different soft skills. And like Dan stated, we have career centers around New York State as well that you can, stop into. You can make an appointment with, and they could kind of help you develop and also, kind of determine your different hard and soft skills. You can stop in. They can help you with the resume process and also kind of seeing where your hard and soft skills lie. You go to the next slide, Dan. So here's a diagram on screen, just kind of helps you break down the difference. I get a lot of questions on, how do I determine what are soft skills, what are hard skills? So hard skills, again, kind of just go through the slide. Are specific and quantifiable knowledge or abilities absolutely necessary for success. Now, these can be demonstrated through a variety of things, such as a degree, certificate, or an example of work. Again, a computer skill, foreign language, math skill, programming skills, all good hard skills. Kind of get you thinking. Think about how that relates to cannabis. Now, soft skills are unquantifiable attributes that cannot be proven but must be demonstrated through work style and approach. So if you're an effective communicator, if you're a team player, it's kind of someone's opinion. It's a subjective opinion of your work, of your communication skills. Again, very important. It's communication, leadership, teamwork, creativity, especially for the cannabis industry. A lot of these soft skills translate. So, it gets you thinking, you might have done something that's kind of not related, but those soft skills kind of rise to the top and kind of help you within the cannabis industry. Next slide, Dan. So we're going to discuss now cannabis and how it relates in transferable skills. So just a little bit of an overview. Legal adult use cannabis program in New York State is expected to create thousands of new jobs. Already has. The full scale licensing opens. New York anticipates steady job growth as companies come online. Kind of this rollout has already began. And there are a variety of career paths along the seed to scale life cycle of cannabis. And you don't need, this is the big point, you don't need prior cannabis work experience. A lot of times people get caught up, I don't have the cannabis work experience. Transferable skills lead to cannabis jobs. So just think about, maybe it's a front end role, maybe it's a kind of a back end grower role. There's different transferable skills across each industry in cannabis. So again, keep that in mind that you as the consumer, you don't need to work in cannabis. You don't need to have experience in cannabis to work in cannabis. So on screen now are some different industries within cannabis, and what hard skills do you already have? So cultivation, good agriculture practices, plant science, equipment maintenance. These are all hard skills that you may already have you haven't worked in cannabis, but are within the cannabis, kind of translate to the cannabis industry. Nursery, good agriculture practices, breeding, cultivation, all good hard skills. Extraction, good manufacturing practices, plant science, equipment maintenance, manufacturing and infusion, good manufacturing practices, plant science, safe food handling, equipment maintenance. Um, so there's just a variety of different skills that you would attain at a different workplace or in a different career path. Distribution and delivery, warehouse logistics, customer service, transportation. So this kind of gives you an idea. And there's more hard skills that you may have attained within these different industries that translate to cannabis. Do your research. Again, stop into our career center. We have counselors that can kind of help you kind of navigate this world. It is daunting, and I've helped individuals with resumes, job leads, and a lot of times it's very difficult doing your own. So stop in again, and they can kind of lead you through this whole process of determining your different skills that you may have that relate to cannabis. And this, a couple more at the bottom here: testing labs, sampling firms. So laboratory practices, plant and food science, transportation, again, different hard skills you may already have. And then retail dispensing and on-site consumption, sales, customer service, marketing. Those are skills across many different industries and they relate to cannabis. So again, you may have sales experience, years of sales experience. We worked with a cannabis place that was opening, and a variety of the individuals didn't have cannabis experience, but they had sales experience. They had years of sales experience. They had customer service, front end experience, and it all related. And the cannabis owner, operators, they were willing to take a shot on that person just because of the sales, the customer service experience, and the marketing experience that that individual had. So now the different soft skills. So again, if you remember on our earlier slide, soft skills, again, very, very important. So it's kind of important to kind of isolate these, kind of determine what are the most important cannabis industry kind of soft skills. Attention to detail, huge. You can think if you're in, the cannabis nursery, or if you're in, kind of working in the store, that's very, very important. So that kind of translates to all cannabis jobs. Strong communication skills. You got to be a good, effective communicator. Especially if you're going to be working within basic math skills. A lot of times, individuals may not think this is important, but it is very, very important in the cannabis industry. A positive attitude, kind of goes across each different job within the cannabis industry. Having a good attitude, being flexible, being willing to learn, adaptability again, and a willingness again to learn is just a lot of times, if you're willing to learn and you have a positive attitude, you'll get a shot, and individuals are willing to take a shot on you. So again, kind of the main theme is just kind of determine, okay, what are the different soft skills that I have? How does this relate to cannabis? And maybe if you're a note taker, jot them down and kind of move on from there. And now I'm going to throw it back to Dan, who's going to conclude the presentation.
Thanks so much, Chris. So, I'm not going to dive too deep into the ancillary industry. I know in session 2, Tiffany and New York State Cannabis Connect focused on the ancillary roles, but I did just want to kind of touch on them very briefly, right? And help people know that if you've worked supplying kind of any of the services that we've listed on this slide in any industry, you could transition really easily to provide those same services to cannabis companies, right? So if you've worked in, as a security guard in marketing, branding, facilities maintenance, web design, IT, legal, accounting, HR, payroll, you can transition, with a little bit of cannabis specific knowledge, you could transition to provide those same services to cannabis companies. And these make for really great pathways either to employment or business ownership for people that may be interested. So, and what's nice about these as well is you don't need a license, right, to operate one of these businesses. So it may be an easier transition for people than potentially starting a cannabis business if they'd like to at least dip a toe into the cannabis industry without starting their own cannabis business, growing, creating cannabis infused products, delivering cannabis, et cetera. So definitely keep those ancillary roles in the back of your mind, if not the front of your mind, as a great way to transition into cannabis. We do also like to touch on transferable skills from the legacy market. We know what we know about cannabis plants, cannabis products, because of the hard work that people put in before it was technically legal in New York State. We want to make sure those people understand, I'm sure they know, but we want to make sure that people, that we vocalize that those skills, that knowledge that people have from the legacy market is incredibly valuable, and businesses would be lucky to have those folks working for them. So, really it's about highlighting those skills that you've developed, if wherever it may be, but including the legacy market, making sure that you're tailoring a resume or cover letter for each individual job that you're applying for, and making sure those skills, whether they're transferable from outside of cannabis into the cannabis industry, but relatable to the job you're applying for, or if it's a skill that you've obtained operating, in the legacy market, make sure those skills and that knowledge is highlighted on a resume and the cover letter so that you can connect the dots for an employer as they look to bring on employees. One thing we do like to point out, just for people specifically that may have legacy experience, just make sure you're comfortable talking about where your cannabis related experience or knowledge comes from before you put it in a resume or in a cover letter. You just want to make sure you're comfortable talking about that experience, since an employer may ask about it in an interview if they see it in a resume or cover letter. And as Chris mentioned, as I mentioned, our career centers can definitely help you create a resume that you're comfortable with. They can help you create a resume that highlights your skills in a way that will ideally capture the attention of a hiring cannabis employer. And kind of to wrap up or bring a close to at least the transferable skills portion of the presentation, it's all about focusing on what you bring to the table, right? Whether it's working inside of cannabis or outside of cannabis, regardless of what it might be. Make sure you show a potential employer what they're missing by not hiring you, instead of focusing on what you may be missing in your skills or experience because you've not worked in the cannabis industry. To the point that we've been making, you've developed incredible knowledge and skills working in any industry, cannabis or not. And those skills are really extremely valuable. It's about understanding how they transfer into the cannabis industry and highlighting them in a resume, job interview, cover letter, so that an employer understands why you'd be such a valuable member of their team based on both your hard and soft skills. So please keep that in mind. And the last slide of any substance, at least, did want to just mention, we all likely know we're just at the start of the rollout of the cannabis industry in New York State. And, I do like to mention there are some jobs currently available, but there are not yet an incredible amount of jobs available in the cannabis industry. They're coming, just not available quite yet. But there are definitely many things that people can do to really increase their chances of successfully finding a career in the cannabis industry. Just want to go through them really briefly. Number one, seek out information, right? Learn the language of regulated cannabis if you don't know it already by going to the Office of Cannabis Management's website at cannabis.ny.gov. Learn what you can about how they're regulating the industry, how they're rolling out business licensing, so that you can be familiar with how it's talked about in the industry. I mentioned our cannabis workforce development website at Department of Labor. We have great information for job seekers, which I highlighted. We do have information for business entrepreneurs as well to help them understand some of the initial steps that need to be taken when creating a business, both from the business and employer side of things. And with connections to resources connections to our business services team that I had mentioned that can help with a lot of hiring related tasks for businesses. A few obviously great training providers we have there. New York State Cannabis Connect are great partners in this virtual series. Also New Grow Center and Cannabis Workforce Initiative are free training providers as well. So many places that you can look for free cannabis education and training, regardless of where you live. A great way to get prepped for building out your resume, your cover letter, and getting ready for job interviews. If you were on session number one with me and Tiffany, we talked about networking and how important it is to make sure you're going to cannabis related events and just meeting people, right? And shaking hands and expressing your interest in working in the cannabis industry. One, you never know who you're going to meet, right? And you never know what opportunities that will bring as you meet people that are either operating in cannabis currently or will be soon. And number two, by networking and going to events, you can practice your ability to use the language of regulated cannabis and work on your ability to sell yourself to employers in the cannabis industry. It's a great way to do it. It's never too early to start working on your resumes, your cover letters, your interviewing skills. Again, our career centers are a great place that can help you for free work on those things. And then, while there may not be a ton of jobs currently, there are some jobs posted now. And as more businesses come online, as Chris mentioned, we'll see job growth come along with those new businesses. So continue to check online job boards, such as our virtual career center, LinkedIn, Indeed, individual cannabis company websites, to really just stay on top of new jobs as they become available and apply as you see them. And then finally, at least for the Department of Labor, just to wrap up, just wanted to make sure you had the CEED unit's email address, seed@labor.ny.gov. Feel free to reach out to us at any point if you have any questions related to cannabis or related to Department of Labor or looking for work in the cannabis industry. We'd love to hear from you, and we'd love to help any way we can. Also provide a link to our cannabis workforce development website. Again, dol.ny.gov/cannabis for anybody that would like to learn more. But that's it for Department of Labor. I'll pass it back to you, Tiffany and Giovanni.
Thank you so much, Dan, for that presentation.
Thank you, Dan.
I love the points that you made. So we learned about hard skills and soft skills from Dan and Chris and the tools that are available. I would like to point out that my team did send out an email to whoever attended the first and second session. So you do have the PowerPoints that Dan said in the first session. We also sent links to the educational programs that are available through the Department of Labor's website, their career exploration, other things. So you got a email full of resources, and I hope you take advantage. Like I said earlier, today we're going to be doing a brief workshop with you all to help you pull out your transferable skills. And what I'm hoping is that you take these to the Department of Labor's resource centers across the state, and they can help you create a resume through this. So that is the goal. And so you'll be having worksheets that'll be coming in these next few emails from us that will just aid you in creating a great resume for the position that you want. So in the first two sessions, we covered all the roles. I'm figuring that by now you have a pretty good understanding of what you want to do in cannabis, hopefully. And if not, then today could be the day where you understand what skills you have and how they apply to different roles in cannabis, and can figure out where you fit in this journey. So again, today is our third session. It's all about transferable skills. We thank Daniel and Christopher for their beautiful presentation. And I like to start my presentations by giving you all cannabis employment and economic impact facts, specifically to New York State. Today, I'm happy to share some information that I've gained from the Office of Cannabis Management. So the Office of Cannabis Management states that New York made a total legal revenue of $137.5 million over the last year. That's through 38 retail stores and 60 grower showcases. This is really good. This shows growth. I mean, our industry has really only been open a year. We got our first store around this time last year. And so it's exciting to see this. And also some statistical data that I pulled from the New York State Department of Labor. Also, you guys will have access to this PowerPoint with the links and to access these numbers yourselves. But what the Department of Labor found was that we had exponential growth in 2023, right? We had 37 new dispensaries opened. Like I stated before, our first one opened in December of last year. So we had 37 new dispensaries open. 8 of them were majority Black owned, 5 Hispanic owned, and 9 women owned. This is great numbers because that shows that over 20% of the dispensaries in New York State are majority Black owned, while nationally less than 2% of dispensaries are Black owned. So it shows that New York State is focused on their social equity, that they're promoting women-owned business, Black-owned business, Hispanic-owned business, and we love that for New York. It's showing that our industry is diverse and that there is growth happening. And whenever we see growth, that means that there's opportunity, right? And your transferable skills are going to be your passport into the cannabis industry to tap into that growth. And so you're going to hear a lot of things repeated in this session today, and I'm going to kind of define again what transferable skills are, right? They're skills that you can seamlessly carry from one experience to another. I'm changing this. I said one industry to another, but when Dan spoke, and he reminds me that we really want to make sure that we're welcoming the legacy industry or the legacy people into this new legal industry. And so we want to make sure that we're using language that reflects that. And so really it's about your experiences. They're not specific to a particular role or domain, but rather broad capabilities that demonstrate your ability to learn, adapt, and perform effectively in various settings. This makes them incredibly valuable, especially in the rapidly evolving cannabis industry. Um, you know, in New York, the industry is new and it is growing, and it's growing slowly, and hopefully in 2024 we see a lot more growth and a lot more opportunities. But I just want to hone in on why your transferable skills are important to the industry. It's like I stated, growing and diverse. So with legalization expanding, cannabis encompasses a wide range of jobs, from cultivation and extraction to marketing and finance. Transferable skills allow you to navigate different areas within the industry, maximizing your career potential, right? We also have to fill the talent gap. Right now, the industry needs skilled professionals from various backgrounds, but it lacks enough people with specific cannabis experience. And so transferable skills, it bridges that gap, letting you leverage your existing expertise and apply it to this exciting new field. And if you're great at navigating complex landscapes, well, cannabis is for you, because it's subject to ever evolving regulations and legalities. Skills like attention to detail, adaptability, and critical thinking are crucial for navigating this complex environment and ensuring compliance. Some examples of transferable skills, I'll just go through a few. Christopher did such a great job. Um, when he was speaking, but things like great communication, being clear and concise. Communication is essential, whether it's for customer service in a dispensary or crafting marketing materials or even collaborating with colleagues. It's essential, right? Having great problem solving skills, the ability to identify, analyze, and solve problems creatively is crucial for overcoming challenges in any job, including cultivation, processing, or research, right? Having great data analysis skills, analyzing data from customer demographics to plant growth patterns is vital for informing business decisions and optimizing operations across various roles. Things like project management, having strong organizational skills and the ability to plan, delegate, and manage projects effectively are key for successes in areas like product development, marketing campaigns, or even logistics. Teamwork and collaboration, that is essential. I can't, speak on that enough. A part of what New York State Cannabis Connect does is based off of collaborating with other organizations and institutions to help bring resources and information. And teamwork and collaboration is so important for the success in any industry. But in cannabis, it's no different. From cultivation teams to marketing departments, working effectively with others is key. Having great technology skills, basic computer literacy, and familiarity with relevant software are increasingly valuable in most cannabis jobs. When you think about the point of sale system, when you think about the tracking system, it's important that you understand these systems and get some training around those, right? And again, Christopher said this, but I'm going to repeat it again. Being adaptable. The cannabis industry is dynamic and constantly evolving. Being flexible and willing to learn new things allows you to embrace change and thrive in this fast-paced environment. And it doesn't mean sacrificing compensation either. I do want to point that out, because when you're bringing more to the table, you definitely should ask for more compensation. You know, and leveraging your existing experience. Again, this is what transferable skills is all about. Think about all of the skills and really leverage your transferable powerhouse. I want you to learn that term, transferable powerhouse. It's your top 3 to 5 skills that you're great at. This is what you're going to use when you're looking for jobs. These are the jobs that you're going to gain that where you can apply those skill sets. So I really want you to really hone in on that today. We are going to be doing a workshop in a few minutes where you can really kind of understand that. And then most importantly, again, and our next 2 sessions are about resume building and networking. So we'll go in more in depth on that. Those will also be accompanied by worksheets that you can take with you as you go to the Department of Labor's career centers to help you craft a resume. But they will really be focusing on making sure that you're emphasizing your skills that are relevant to a specific position that you're applying for when you're crafting your resume and cover letter. It's so important. And by recognizing and leveraging your transferable skills, you can open the doors to exciting possibilities in this dynamic and growing cannabis industry. Remember, your proven skill sets and adaptability are valuable assets, giving you a competitive edge in this emerging field. So I really need you to tap into them today. Thank you so much for your time. I'm going to pass it to Jamani.
Thank you, Tiffany. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the third session of the Catch a Contact Virtual Career Exploration Series. Who am I? I'm Jamani Hughes, co-founder and COO of New York State Cannabis Connect. Thank you for joining us again. Let me just give you a little background on myself. I do have a 20-year history, basically working as a trainer, manager, and supervisor in the telecom field. I've worked with fundraising firms who would raise annual funds for different educational institutions across the nation. My focus was on training and coaching methods. I've also worked with medical institutions on creating and implementing processes which would allow for smoother communications between providers, secretaries, and various points throughout the access center. Specifically, this was done in orthopedics. I've also coached and mentored hundreds of individuals, not only for entry-level positions, but also leadership roles within those organizations. So I do know a little about what we call upskilling. So I'm just going to get into some wonderful things today, a basic strategic approach to upskilling. So we're going to learn some ways to basically capitalize on your professional currency. Now, you may ask, what is professional currency? What that is it is the value one brings to the workforce, composed of hard and soft skills acquired over one's lifetime. So just remember that. Again, that's what your professional currency is. And with this, you know, your transferable powerhouse of top skills are going to be able to basically implement yourself into this strategic upskilling. So I have 3 points that I want to point out. Showcasing your passion, being creative and flexible, and then strategically upskilling and specializing that. Let's start with showcasing your passion. First, it is a straightforward thing, showcasing your passion. The cannabis industry is driven by passionate individuals who believe in its potential, and you want to demonstrate interest. You want to show you're genuinely interested in being a part of this industry. Project this. Project this when you're attending networking events. Individuals can feel that passion. Project this when you're on interviews. Project this even when it comes to your social media. Because what you're going to do is you're going to attract the same energy. You're going to market yourself to potential clients or employers, and they're going to get a clear picture of who you are. Also, when you exude that passion, when you're going to attract some people who have the same feelings and the same intent as yourself. Remember, we're not going to get anyone to feel passionate about what we can bring to the table if we're not presenting that from within. So let people see that. It's very important. Showcase that passion. Understand this. Also, you take passion and enthusiasm and you couple that with adaptability, resilience, and work ethic. You put yourself in a position to now obtain what we call teachable abilities or hard skills. And those are then quantifiable and measurable towards your professional currency. I have just an example, just a story. There was a gentleman I had worked with as he was a manager. He trained me, had a degree as a musician, no prior telecom or managerial experience. I mean, the way this man ran the ship was impeccable. You would think he had some sort of computer or analytic background, given the duties that we had as managers of a 3 time zone fundraising institution. But no, this man had none of that. He was just a graduate, again, of a music school, but that's it. But what I learned at that point was it's not always a specific hard skill set that you need to be successful. I saw that the ability to problem solve, and we're going to this word again, his adaptability, his experience, all those soft skills coupled with, of course, his on-the-job training that he acquired from years of being there, allowed him to get where he was at. But most importantly, this man was passionate. Whenever he trained, whenever he coached, whenever he mentored, you would see that passionate feeling just exude from him. And I just have to say, I've taken that with myself throughout my career. But the point is, to make it short and brief, passion and enthusiasm can take you far. The next strategy I want to point out is be creative and flexible. You want to think outside the box. You want to try to propose your transferable skills can be applied to solve specific problems or contribute to companies' goals. Don't limit yourself when it comes to this new industry. Okay? When it comes to creativity and flexibility, these are two ways to help unlock your career potential in this exciting new industry. Flexibility. That's a soft skill that is very important, a very important aspect also of this new industry, because that leads you to being what we call adaptable. And again, we're back to this word, adaptability. Adaptability is something we see a need for in all industries, especially as AI takes place amongst us. Adaptability is going to allow you to move with the changes. It's going to allow for that upskilling to take place. If you're flexible, you're also more prepared for changes to occur on the job. And we're going to see a lot of that happening in today's cannabis space. With emerging industry job titles or duties, they're not going to be established. So you may have to be, and you're going to have to be willing to wear multiple hats in this workspace. So that quality or soft skill is priceless at times. Again, creativity, another soft skill. This allows you to navigate as well as establish and implement. Look, people, everything that you see before you must be created. Am I right? Creativity is the driving force of any industry. And creativity is the ground for many processes you see in any given work organization. So coaching, mentoring, workshop development, and training programs all involve creativity. Remember, to think outside the box and be flexible to new ideas and trends you see emerging in the industry, stay informed about evolving trends and regulations in the cannabis industry as well. Demonstrating that awareness of challenges and opportunities shows employers you're engaged, again, adaptable. These are qualities all highly valuable. The last strategy I want to point out is strategically upskilling and specializing. So what basically is upskilling? If those of you that don't know, upskilling is a work trend that provides training programs and development opportunities to expand an employee's abilities. At the same time, it's looking to minimize those skill gaps. So this is basically what's going to increase our professional currency. Now, while transferable skills are a valuable foundation, consider adding industry-specific knowledge and certifications, or what we call hard skills, to your arsenal, people. You may ask yourself, how do I go about acquiring those skills? Well, there are options. And when it comes to upskilling, as of today in New York State, there are a few. There are online courses. These are courses or trainings that you can receive via the internet, which offer individuals that ability to learn remotely. New York State Cannabis Connect will be offering some of these trainings. New Grow Center, I think, offers a few of these trainings as well. CWI as well. Another way to acquire this skill is through workshops. Now, workshops have been very critical. They're interactive trainings where participants basically carry out several instructed learning activities. And the Catch a Contact was actually one of the first um, events to actually bring in free professional trainings headed by industry leaders. And last but not least, I just want to touch on boot camps. Uh, Boot camps are basically immersed curriculums that are spread out over a few days. Boot camps are usually based off of some type of a learning program, and they're bundled up. So what we've seen is basically a need for that in the industry today, and that's going to help individuals upskilling. So I would highly recommend looking and following New York State Cannabis Connect in the future, because you're going to see us launching a few boot camps. But let me just speed it up and get right to the end of it. We just want to let everyone know that the need for those who are looking to highlight or obtain certain skills is critical. So please just stay informed, proactively leverage your transferable skills, upskill strategically, show that passion, and then you can position yourself for success in this industry. Again, the workforce in 2024, we see it going on an upward trajectory. And again, transferable skills are a powerful tool, but actively tailoring them to specific needs of the cannabis industry is going to be the key to unlocking your career potential in this exciting and rapidly growing field. So I do want to thank you, and that's all I have for now. Thank you, Tiffany. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Thank you. I do want to just kind of off the heels of what Jemani said, yes, 2024 is upon us. And when we think about leveraging our transferable skills, it's so important in this ever-changing working, just environment. We have AI, we're competing with jobs. And so understanding your transferable skills and how they can solve your next employer's problem is so key. So the next thing I want to do is do a workshop with you guys where hopefully I can help you kind of pull out those, 3 to 5 skills that you have that are transferable to any industry, and then how you can focus on applying them to the cannabis industry. So Lawrence, I think this kind of, I just want to point this out that Lawrence put a question in the chat about, is there anyone specifically you can speak with to guide them into a new career that they want inside of the cannabis industry? This is the whole reason why this virtual series was created, to kind of help you think about what that role looks like. It's so new, and positions and roles are limited to the licenses that are available. That was kind of the first session. It is recorded on the roles that fall under the different license types, but it's not really for us to tell you what position you want, but for you to think about your skill sets and where they fit into cannabis. And I think this next workshop might help you do that. So I just want to kind of get into that. And then we'll open it up for any questions afterwards to all of us. So, welcome, to this workshop today. I want to dive deep into the gold mine of transferable skills. They're your transferable powerhouse of skills. What Jemani kind of described as your professional currency. It's where your value comes into play when you're in an interview and you're looking to showcase yourself and ask for that pay, right? How are you doing that? How are you showing them that you can meet the skill sets and actively show how you apply those skills in past experiences? So I'm really excited to do this with you guys. So you guys can actively participate in the chat, and also within this, I am going to show you a list of skills in a second, so you will stop seeing me share my screen here and I'll bring up another screen. But I'm hoping that you're ready to unleash these skill sets that you have and really identify your hidden gems. So what I want you to do first to identify your hidden skill sets or skills that you may already know you have, I want you to think beyond your job titles, right? I want you to list your past experiences. This could be volunteer work, hobbies. If did you organize a school event, or do you coach a team? Are you a leader in your current role at work? Did you, teach a summer course for children? I mean, there's so many different things that you could think of here. Do you do craft hobbies on the side and you're really good at paying attention to detail, like there's so many things I want you to really think about as we think transferable skills. And I'm just making sure that I have the chat up. So that's a great question, Claudia. When you think of security, we just actually covered this in the last session. We had BMCC, the Borough of Manhattan Community College, coming in and talk about their security program and how they're helping people with security licenses enter the cannabis industry. But you already have the skill set of understanding security, how to protect the asset, maybe loss prevention, right? And so you already have, these things that they need in cannabis. It really is an easily transferable skill. You already pay attention to detail. Again, you have a basic sense of security and the logistics that go with that. And so I think that now just understanding how to craft your resume and then where the entries lie. There are currently positions for security for retail stores. Every retail store is required to have security, but then there's also other things around security that you can think about that may apply to you. Like I just said, loss prevention, a big part of you know, uh theft in any retail is typically employees stealing things. So, or understanding loss prevention and how that works internally, right? A lot of companies may not be thinking about that, but that's something that you can apply to cannabis, whether it's at the retail store or it's at a processing facility, right? Because it happens. And so those are things that you can think about, helping them create plans, being a consultant, helping them create plans so that they can minimize their losses, so that they can maximize their security, but so they can also do it in a way that's maybe meaningful to the community and doesn't feel invading, things like that, learning nonviolent communication methods and applying that to security. So I think that there's a lot of transferable skills there. Claudia, I hope I helped you pull out some of your own skill sets and that you're writing them down to identify your hidden gems. Focus on actions, not titles. We're not focusing on titles. Remember, it's not about the job you held, it's about the experience that you've had, right? What experience do you have? What do you do well? Problem solve under pressure, communicate effectively, build relationships. These are all great skills. Identifying the skill you used in each experience is key, right? So that's what I want you to do here. Identify the actual skill, group your skills, communication, interpersonal skills, teamwork, leadership, soft skills versus hard skills. These are just a few of the categories, but I want you to organize your skills based on what resonates with you. And I'm going to share my screen and you will see a list of skills so that you don't have to really work hard at thinking about all the skills that go here. But like if we're talking about communication skills, so do you speak effectively, right? Writing clearly and concisely, listening attentively and objectively. Listening is a skill that not everybody has, right? Are you great at expressing ideas? I'm really good at expressing ideas. 2.5 years ago, almost 3 years ago, New York State Cannabis Connect was an idea. I had to express it to a team of website developers and a team of communicators and project managers in order to bring my idea to fruition. So I had to effectively communicate. I had to manage teams. I had to manage projects. These are all effective skills. I want you to think about that. We're talking about research and planning, right? Can you forecast and predict what's going to happen in a certain industry based on certain things? Maybe you're great at analyzing and analytics, developing evaluation strategies, observing and discovering, setting goals. And I would like you guys, if you would like to speak, please raise your hand and you are welcome to speak as we do this workshop. Tell us about your experience. Tell us about your skills.
I like
Please
that,
feel
Diana.
free.
Detail-oriented, team player, creative, open-minded, flexible, responsible.
I love that. Being responsible, a team player. I can't tell you how important that is as cannabis businesses seek to build their team,
Yes.
right? They need somebody who's going to be responsible. And oh, good, we got hands up. was that you, Dan?
I don't think it was me. If it was by
Oh,
mistake.
okay.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. I thought I had somebody's hand up. Okay, if you guys don't want to, you don't have to, but please feel free. Yes, I see the chat. So we have Kayla. Kayla is a teacher for 2 years, behavioral therapist since April. Her soft skills are effective communication, empathy, that's so important, problem solving, adaptability, team collaboration, I love it, hard skills, organizational skills, data analysis, tracking, regulatory compliance awareness.
That's a big one right there.
Training and education, behavioral analysis, and intervention expertise. I mean, honestly, with these skills, um, you could apply for a lot of different roles within cannabis.
Definitely leadership roles.
Exactly, leadership roles, right? Maybe you're someone who is quality control at a processing plant. Maybe you're someone who is the head of HR because you understand empathy and you understand communication and you're great at problem solving, right? And you're great at training and education and building. It looks like team collaboration, so helping someone build a team. So I think that would be a great role for you, is a HR type of position, helping someone start their team, helping someone figure out what their training looks like. There's so many different roles. And I think especially because you have that degree in behavioral therapist and you were a teacher.
Right.
Yeah. Does anybody else want to go? You guys can see this. I'll keep reading through the skills. So, again, we have human relations and interpersonal skills. So developing rapport, being sensitive, that empathy, right? That Kayla just said she has, like, sharing credit is important. A lot of times people, depending on their personality, they may want to take credit. So being able to share credit with someone, being motivating, is so important as you build teams. Being able to cooperate and collaborate, right? Maybe persuading others because you need them to buy into your idea because it's a really good idea, but they're not for cannabis, or they're not for this, what this new industry means because of stigma. So being able to persuade others, taking risks, teaching, demonstrating effective social behaviors, perceiving feelings in situations, delegating with respect. I love that. That's an important one. Delegating with respect, especially as a leader. Um, Keeping a group on track is so important as well. So just those things. Yes, thank you, Diana. Eager to learn and take positive criticism well, open to new things. Those are all great skills. And again, I hope you guys are writing these down. I will be sharing you a worksheet. Tori said, I am a car salesman currently for the last 2 years. My soft skills are problem solving, communication skills, team player. I love it. Hard skills, investigating. I like that. Data analysis, make my own infused oils, butters, tinctures, and make my own edibles. The list goes on.
So
what I see,
bringing that experience in with some hard skills there.
I like that. And what I see, honestly, is you being able to create new recipes or products for companies or cannabis production facilities because you understand investigating, so you can investigate current trends. What do consumers like?
I could see you training a sales team.
Oh, that too, right? On understanding what goes into products. That's also a great role. Especially when it comes to, again, this new industry. A lot of people think consumption and they only think like one method, kind of smoking, or two methods, maybe edibles. But in reality, I believe there's 11 different consumption methods in when we're talking about cannabis. So you can rub it on, you can take oils, right? There's dab, there's vape, there's rosins, there's so many different things and ways to consume it. So just understanding that was great. Thank you so much, Tori. Yeah. Body washes. That's another thing. Thinking creatively about the products that will be held in New York.
Right.
That is a thing. People are trying to create new
And I think
products.
that goes with what we were saying. Stay on the lookout for emerging trends. Stay on top of regulations, because regulations are going to dictate what trends take place. So you can start to see certain things emerge, like when you're staying in the know. So
And when you say actual food, the borough of no, Kingsborough Community College has a culinary program right now that they're doing, right? And when we think about food, it's not just the brownies and the cookies, right? We're actually going to have restaurants serving 5-course meals that are infused with cannabis and in different ways, maybe cooked in, maybe it was cooked in oil. Like there's just so many different methods that I'm really excited about that too. See, look at, and people don't think like rice and chicken, And again, we're thinking outside of the box about consumption because there's healthier ways to consume too. And as we think about the demographics of people now understanding that, it's not illegal in New York, it's opening it up.
yes, Mariana, there are a few culinary arts programs taking place across the state in a few community schools, correct?
Yes, and I will share a link momentarily to the Kingsborough Community College culinary, but yes, there are. And I will send, you guys will get a follow-up to this one. I will send the link again to all of the Department of Labor. They have a link to all the educational programs around cannabis in the state. And so I'll make sure you guys get that in the follow-up email when I send the PowerPoints to this one. So yeah, as you guys can see, there are a lot. I'm gonna go to the next step, which is kind of making your skills shine. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and go back, and I'll send you guys this list of skills so you can do this yourself. But what I'm again hoping is that this cuts out some of your steps when you're going to these career centers across the state, and you're able to just walk in with or make that appointment. Excuse me, you don't want to just walk in, you do want to make an appointment, but you're able to make that appointment and you're able to already have a head start and tell them these are the type of jobs that I'm looking to gain, and this is some worksheets that I already have that kind of help guide them in that creation. So too, making your skills shine, right? So you've all just done that. You've picked your top 3 or 5 skills, which we're calling your transferable powerhouse. I want you guys to keep that in mind, keep that term. And they're relevant to your desired career path. We gave you examples of what those career paths could look like based on your skill sets, right? And now what we want you to do is kind of craft compelling stories for each skill. Tell a star story. Remember this: star, situation, task, action, result. Highlight how you used the skill to achieve a positive outcome. Quantify your achievements if possible. So again, star, situation, task, action, result. I'll write that in the chat. You're going to want to highlight how you use those skills. Tailor your language. Make sure you're tailoring your language. In 2024, it is so important to tailor your language because people, a lot of times, if you're not doing networking and you're just submitting your resume, a person is not looking at it right away. An AI is some type of automated applicant, system, applicant uh, tracking system. So just make sure that you're tailoring your language so that you're matching those keywords.
And we're going to go into that in session 4.
Yes, we are. We're going to teach you how to research the skills and keywords, right, in your target industry. And so you can use that similar language in your resumes and cover letters. I'm not going to get into it in depth today, but we will in the next session. So that's why I want you guys to pull out your skills now. So in the next session, you're prepared to move on to that next step, right? So I really want you to think about those skills. Jamani gave a great story when he was speaking about a gentleman who came from an industry. And
yeah, he was a musician.
Adaptable.
Yeah,
right. He was a musician, but he was highly adaptable. So those type of stories, talk about it. I just told you a story about how I'm detail oriented, how I'm great at project management, and I'm a clear communicator. And so because of that, I was able to take my concept of New York State Cannabis Connect, our concept, and kind of make it into a reality. And now here we sit. And so being able to articulate and quantify exactly how your skill benefited or can benefit an organization is so important. And then putting your skills to work. It's the key, right? So you're thinking about situations. Now you can express how you've actually done that skill in a certain situation, now you're going to rethink your resume and showcase your transferable skills through action verbs and concrete examples, not just duties. I want you to tell success stories, right? That's what I want you to do. I want you to tell success stories. And then secondly, you have to network. And that'll be our last session, but you have to network in this industry. It's so important in cannabis because the industry is small right now and it's growing, but it's how you're going to really land your job. Honestly, in any industry. Um, I'll tell you a story. I was at a Domino's the other day. They were so short staffed. The manager was working by herself. I waited an hour for my pizza. As I sat there, her phone rang off the hook. Her delivery drivers kept coming back and forth. And a gentleman walked in and said, "You're hiring?" I said, "She's clearly hiring." And she had two applications, paper applications, sitting on the counter. And the gentleman, he picked up the application, the paper applications. He made a quick phone call. He says, "I think I have two people right now that could, that are capable of doing this," right? Calls him up within 20 minutes, because I was up there for an hour. The person that he called showed up to fill that job. She's happy because she's not looking at the 1,000 people that applied online. She doesn't have time to. She doesn't have staff, right? Somebody walked in, she with a paper resume, she and it was a referral, right? So now she's paying attention to that person in front, and that all was through the networking, the power of networking. I don't know if the person got the job, but hopefully they landed that gig because their passion, enthusiasm, they showed up within 20 minutes, right? So much, they showed immediately so many skills right away in that moment. And so again, being able to tell these stories and relate your skills and apply them is going to be so important in you landing the job and networking. Right. Remember, transferable skills are your secret career weapon. It's your powerhouse, right? You literally were in a time where, COVID changed the career landscape, and now we have a new industry, cannabis. And so, a statistic that I saw right before this call was that in June 2023, the New York State Department of Labor reported that 129,000 people quit their job. 129,000 people quit their job. I'm not saying people don't want to work, but what I am saying is they're looking for new opportunities. And cannabis is a new opportunity, maybe even an opportunity for you to create a pathway of your own or a role that you've created because you see the fit in this new industry. And so I want you to think outside the box. I want you to hone in on those skills. They're relevant, and you can land your next gig now, right? And so articulate your skills with confidence, tell compelling stories, and showcase the value that you bring. Like I said, don't sacrifice your compensation, right? And this is how you're really going to put your skills to work. So never stop learning, like Jemani said. Make sure you're upskilling and keep your skills sharp and relevant to stay ahead of the curve.
And again, be passionate. Again, showcase that passion.
Yes, you have to. And with a little self-discovery and strategic action, your transferable skills can launch you into a thriving new career. So go forth, explore, and unlock your hidden potential. Uh, Please, you guys, I'm going to share this worksheet with you guys, and I'm opening it up for Q&A. So if you guys have any questions, if you guys want to share with us, please feel free now. You can raise your hand, and I'll allow you to share your mic or your screen. Yes, Chris and Dan, thank you for joining us again. And there you go, Esther. You should now be able to speak.
I'm supposed to be talking about the subject line. I thought she was going to write it in the chat. But
Oh, star. Thank you.
sorry.
That's right.
I can describe a situation that I've had at a nonprofit before. So the situation was they had a $10,000 IRS penalty, and for the nonprofit sector, because of that, that stops them from getting funding. And then the task that I had to do was get it removed so that we can continue getting funding. And it was a 6 months process. So I had to lay out the foundations of how to deal with that division from IRS within there. And then when I came back from vacation, I was able to find a loophole during a law that was passed during during Sandy. Because of the location, they didn't have it, so it involved us being in another data system that they didn't reference. And then I got that $10,000 IRS penalty removed for the nonprofit within 6 months. This skill is transferable because it goes into risk management and compliance of making sure those things of like making sure that you're doing your taxes on time, paying your taxes, making sure you're up to date with laws or amendments of laws that are happening throughout major disasters. We know Katrina was one thing, but FEMA and IRS didn't have their system sync. So I had to figure out that their systems weren't sync. But those are all about staying on top of policy and risk management and compliance. So I hope that was a good example.
Yes, it was. Thank you so much, Esther.
Esther.
Yes, and the results, right? The outcome for the company. And it always matters when you can show them how you can solve a problem for them. So thank you. That's exactly when I want to hear examples of how those skills were applied, right? Because now you can apply those to another position or experience in life. So thank you.
And when it comes to cannabis, risk compliance is a huge thing, but people mostly look at compliance on one end, which is like, oh, is my cannabis all right, or certain things, but they don't think about the HR, the
Right.
technical um, onboarding practices, safe workplace, non-hostile work environment,
Right.
onboarding. Offboarding is a thing that most people don't think about. Having exit interviews, offboarding, and those processes in place when you're thinking about the jobs, and then you use these skills to figure out ways you can negotiate a salary or negotiate professional development or covering a master's, even if you're taking a lower rate, a lower tier job. Show ways to build skills up, and showing these examples of how you use those skills and different stuff within your interviewing practices.
I love that. And some employers don't even know until they get hit with that unemployment bill. And they're like, "Oh, exit processes. Oh, I better figure those out,
Right.
right?" And so it's nice when you can come,
It's the exit processes that people don't pay attention to.
right.
But
They did all the right
you know,
onboarding, but that exit process, and now they're liable for unemployment. So, just understanding that and being able to articulate that to an employer is a great thing, right? And so I love that. Um, let's see, we have Nazeri. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Bond. I currently work at a pharmacy part time, and I really want to take advantage of the free time I have now to start a career path I love. I love that for you. Now is the time. And I would like to point out that New York State isn't just adult use. We do have a medical program. So working in a pharmacy, you already have a numerous skills and accurate measurements, all these different things, and probably certifications at what as well that could land you a role at working at a medical facility, whether it be a dispensary, because they do have roles that are patient liaison, or even outside of that, depending on your skill sets. Maybe you want to work in communication for one of those brands, or just thinking, I mean, outside the box. Like you said, if it's something you want to do that you love, you can still apply your current trainings and certifications, but do that in a way, again, that maybe is through communication or different other things. So just think broad about it, and then we can kind of help you hone in on that and see where those pathways could go. So I really love that for you. Um, Again, I'm going to remind you guys of STAR: situation, task, action, result. Be prepared in an interview, right? Um, Claudia also said, can I send you my resume and you can tell me what you think about it and if I can use it for cannabis jobs? I can't. I mean, you can send it to us. And how I can apply for cannabis jobs, we can help you with that. And also that will kind of be the next session when we go into resumes and cover letters, because we'll be helping you guys craft that. And again, the goal is for you guys to be able to go to a Department of Labor Career Center and make that appointment, and then, get that professional assistance and land that job. I do want to point out that, again, when we're talking about jobs in cannabis, we're really talking about roles that land under certain license types. So licenses that are available now: laboratory licenses, retail licenses, cultivation licenses, processing licenses. So those are things that where you'll have some of you were in here, culinary chefs, manufacturing, quality control, controller, retail dispenser, managers, security, compliance, administration, HR. I mean, really, and that recording is now available on YouTube, but there's so many roles. I definitely would implore you to go back if you didn't attend the first session, to listen to that session. Dan and I did a great job of going over the license types and the different roles that fall under those license types. If you attended either one of the first sessions or signed up, then you did get the email with all of the resources. And again, I love leaning into Dan, honestly, just great work for your team, right? They even now have the job descriptions up there, but they have something called career exploration, and it's a page and it tells you even the level of skill that you may need for the position and the type of skills that you need for the role. And so I sent that link out. I'll send that link again. I'll actually drop it in here before we end our session today so that you guys have that. And that's a great tool to figure out what skill sets go with each role. Because again, even when we're talking about being a pharmacy, working in the pharmacy part-time, and I just said it could apply to communication, because you understand what the language is and what kind of to recommend when we're talking about speaking with patients, as we'll call in the medical industry, then maybe you can apply that to working on their social team, right? Things like that. So I just want you to think about those things. And Stephanie, I have more computer technical skills. What type of up and coming jobs can relate to this industry? So when we're talking about point of sale, understanding,
that's the first thing I thought about.
Yeah, understanding the
the
systems, BioTrack, the seed to sale system that the state is using, being able to understand those systems, how they work, and how they can help the retailer or the business owner is so crucial.
That'll enable you to manage a dispensary,
and even help train the dispensary.
Correct. Even train.
A lot of things that I hear is what they like is the ability to go in, but if you don't know how to use that technology, you'll hear a different kind of feedback from different individuals. So having someone who is so tech savvy that can help them with that is so important. And then being able to maybe even not just manage systems, but create systems, create technology that can help. Again, that's what we did. One of the tools that we have at New York State Cannabis Connect is GRAM, which is our general resource and access map. It lists out things like the Department of Labor's Career Center, who the local retailers are that are licensed in the state, who the local licensed processors are, right? Who local community-based organizations are in your community that focus on cannabis. So it was a tool that I created that I wanted to kind of be a resource, a general resource for community in New York. And it's specific to New York, right? Because I wanted people to be able to find their pathway in cannabis, even if they didn't know, like, where do I start? Where are the resources am I? So it's a map and it's specific to your area. And so I'll think about things that can solve problems. Right now, it's really about problem solving. And again, you can create these roles for yourself. Dan, did you want to add anything, or Christopher?
Maybe just a couple quick things. I mean, this is an incredible session. It's so helpful to help people connect the dots, right, between the skills they've developed outside of cannabis or in the legacy market of cannabis into the regulated industry. Just a couple of things I would say is, one, I think this highlights how many endless possibilities there are in the cannabis industry, right? And we could go on and on and on for hours of examples of skills that translate into cannabis, which is one reason why I think we're all so excited about the rollout and what it brings in terms of opportunities. And it's really just about identifying what you find interesting, identifying what connects to work you've done before, and making your way in the cannabis industry. Number two, what I would say is, if anybody is still not sure how their prior work experience or their interests relate to cannabis, Jumani talked about this, educate yourself. And Tiffany talked about this too. Start to understand the world of regulated cannabis by going to New York State Cannabis Connect's website. They didn't mention this, I don't think, but they have great videos of a couple different jobs across cannabis to help you actually see what it means to work in the cannabis industry. And you can get a snippet and a view into how those facilities operate, can help you understand just what a cannabis business means. What do these jobs look like? So start looking at online resources, whether it's New York State Cannabis Connect, Department of Labor's Cannabis Workforce Development website, really anywhere you can find information on regulated cannabis, educate yourself, and you'll start to realize how these businesses operate, what the jobs really mean, and then you'll be able to understand a little bit better how your interests, how your prior work experience relates to working in cannabis. So that's a good way to just help bridge the gap if you're not sure still how what you've done previously relates to cannabis. And then number three, Tiffany's mentioned this, but our career centers can definitely be a resource to you. Please consider them a resource to help you build out a resume, cover letter, look for work in the cannabis industry. I know Tiffany's going to send out some follow-up information on that. Just wanted to mention it.
Thank you. I
That's
think
all.
those are all great points. As we get to wrap up this call, thank you so much, Dan. And I did forget to mention that we have the career exploration videos. They are a great resource. There is so much, and I do just implore you guys to do your research. It is a new industry, and so, like I said, you might do your research and find that your skill set fits into somewhere where you didn't even think that, you would be doing it. One of the videos we have, the guy, these people worked in California. He was he did pool maintenance, right? So he went and he put chlorine in the pools and he maintained the chemicals in the pools and the machines on the pools. Well, there was no room for him to grow, right? There really wasn't much for him to do. He wasn't in the construction side of pools. He was in the other side of pools, right? And so he found a career in cannabis. He didn't consume cannabis, but he found it to be lucrative.
And he worked in the fertigation.
He worked in
department, right?
fertigation, which is mixing nutrients for cannabis plants. And so he found a role in there. He had to learn more about computers and analytics, but he loved his role and it was a way for him to grow. And so I just think you might not think of, something, and then it just might spark your interest and it might be a new role. Esther has her hand up. I'm going to let her speak again. And then if anybody else wants to speak or has a question, we have 5 minutes left. So I definitely implore you, while you have all of us, that if you do, you ask. Esther, you should be able to speak.
Yes, thank you. Just like the last exploration, I think this is a great tool. I've also super excited to see some of the people who are going to obtain their license being on it, because I think learning these things on the opposite ends as an employer and understanding the things and traits and skills you need to hire. I've always been advocating of how Department of Labor has a million accessible resources that we just do not tap into. So I'm super happy seeing this exploration series, because there's just so many resources in Department of Labor that we just do not recognize, or we weren't even taught all this information. So I think this has continuously been a great virtual series, and I hope to see more like this.
Thank you so much, Esther. I love that you said that, and maybe we should then think of one for the employer side, because just like I said, I'll lean into it, and I told you guys to look at them, but they just launched their job descriptions, which is so important because this industry is new in New York, so it's a foundation, and it gives employers, it kind of takes the work out. It is hard. I don't know if anybody in here has ever created a job description for a role that they were trying to open, and they're trying to think about all the things. And that's one of the things they ask you if you have to go on an unemployment thing. They'll ask you, what was your job description? Are you asking people to do things that aren't in the job description? So kind of understanding that from both aspects can be so important. And you're right, they do have so many tools, and just have been a great partner. And honestly, I just really appreciate the way the Department of Labor has leaned into it, as a statewide organization or entity, into this new industry where there is so much stigma and hesitation, that you guys have really created the tools to allow people to think differently, think creatively, passionately about this new industry and how they can contribute. I'll go back to another point that you said that really meant a lot. Dan, you don't have to consume. This is a misconception. I'll be having conversations with people and it'll just come up and they'll be like, oh, really? That's right. I don't have to consume. And it's like a bulb goes off in their head. And you're like, you don't have to consume to work in cannabis. I've met so many different people in different backgrounds, from security to engineering to bud dispensers, that don't consume, but they understand the plant. And so I will say that please make sure that, you're not bringing your own stigmas into this, and that you're thinking openly about this new industry, because, it's so important. And again, I do appreciate that the Department of Labor leaned into that. It's also going to help with the job descriptions and the minimum requirements that employers will try to bring to the table when they're looking to hire. So thank you. Chris, I did see that you shared something in the chat. If you want to talk about that, is the career centers.
Yeah, it's just the locator. So you can, if you access that site, you can, on the left-hand side, you'll see the different counties around New York State, and then you can, wherever you're located, and you'll be able to see the closest career center to you. We have a number around New York State, so there'll be one within a reasonable drive for everyone.
And definitely lean into them, you guys, because outside of cannabis, the career centers do a lot. I've attended they have job fairs, they have workshops, they have different things to help you. And even though it's not cannabis specific, it can be a way to upskill, like Jamani said. So make sure that you're using that as a resource, and please make sure you schedule an appointment, like Dan stated, to make sure that you're seen in a timely manner when you get to their office. I want to just thank everybody. I don't see any more hands, so I am just going to.
Tiffany, can I just
Hold on, I do
mention
see.
one quick thing? Actually, maybe we're
Yep.
checking the chat. I just wanted to put a plug in again for any entrepreneurs or cannabis business owners on the call. We do have a great business services team spread across the state that can help with many hiring related tasks, from posting jobs online to helping connect people to career fairs and customer recruitment events, searching our job seeker database for skill needs for individual business hiring needs. They can help people understand state hiring incentives and tax credits. They can help understand labor law. So we have a great business services team that can help cannabis business owners explore, right, employment in the cannabis industry. So I'm going to put in, I'm sure this is in the follow-up materials, but I'm just going to put the CEED email address if there are any business
Yes.
owners or job seekers that just want help connecting to Department of Labor resources. We can certainly help you do that. I just want to mention that quickly, Tiffany.
No, thank you. I think that's so important. And then we do have one last question from Simmons S. And I'm going to, oh, actually we have two more. And I'll if you guys don't mind, I'll go over just a few. But Dan, I'm gonna actually gear this one towards you. So it says, but my thing is, what if you do consume? A lot of good jobs still test, like truck drivers, which I'm interested in.
So people may know this, but the Marijuana Regulation and Taxation Act, MRTA, which is the state legislation that legalized adult use cannabis in New York, what it also did was it changed labor law in New York State. And effectively, I'm sorry if I dive too deep here, but hopefully this is helpful
Dive,
information.
Dan,
But
dive.
okay, I'm going. But it changed labor law in New York State, effectively creating a protection for people's legal use of cannabis outside the workplace. So employers can still prevent impairment and possession of cannabis on the job. That means, when I say possession, that means on the job, it means you can't bring it, onto the employer's property, in company vehicles, lockers, break rooms, desks. You can't be impaired from cannabis if that's the employer's policy while at work. But unless there's a state or federal law that specifically requires that a particular employer or a particular job type requires a drug test for cannabis. So there has to be a state or federal law specifically requiring a drug test for cannabis for a particular position. If there is not a state or federal law that requires it, an employer cannot test an existing employee or prospective employee for cannabis, and they can't use a test result related to a hiring or firing decision. So there are some exceptions, which Simmons is kind of referencing here. Jobs in the kind of that have a public safety component, such as people with CDL, commercial driver's license, people that work for the Department of Transportation. There are exceptions to the rule where those types of jobs can still test prospective and current employees for cannabis because there's a state or federal law that requires it. Outside of those exceptions, though, they can't. If anybody is experiencing or has witnessed discrimination in employment for any reason, but including, because of somebody's legal use of cannabis outside of the workplace, please file a complaint directly with the Department of Labor's Division of Labor Standards so that our Division of Labor Standards can enforce the labor law and make sure that people's consumption is protected in New York State. So what I'll do also, that's CEED@labor.ny.gov. If anybody needs a connection to our Labor Standards Division, please reach out. We'd be happy to connect. Well, not happy to connect you with their team because that means you're experiencing something that you shouldn't be experiencing. But please reach out so we can help get you to the right people so you can file a complaint. But thanks for bringing that up, Simmons. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. And I'd like to add, Simmons, that if you want, I know that was a career pathway you're looking to take when you said driving, but there's also other things that you could do where maybe you're not behind the wheel, but you're still helping with the logistics of deliveries, right? So maybe you understand the mapping and the routing of, how you get from point A to point B. So maybe that's something you can do in the background, and not actually drive. So I just wanted to give you some other kind of possibilities where your skill sets could still fit, and you could still do something that you like to do, maybe just not driving.
That was good.
And then just one more, Dan, we have a Kayla, and this is a yes, but she states, are certificates from online training specific to the cannabis industry valuable or worth listing on a reconstructed resume? I've also taken a course at Medgar Evers College on cannabis. Is this something employers would be interested in seeing on a resume? I would think yes, right? Because at least it lets them know that you have a basic understanding of cannabis, at least the workings of cannabis. Now, I don't know what the course was at Medgar Evers, if it was an employment course or if it was, you know, um, what other course could they have, specific to culinary, or, I guess it depends on that course, but still list it if it's relevant to the position. And again, I'm going to say relevant to the position because it's so important in 2024 that people are crafting their resumes for the role they want. And that's why we're having these series, because I don't want you to just jump into any role because you just want a job in cannabis. I mean, it's great to get experience, but what I want you to do is find your skills, find something that you're great at that you can grow in, right? And that you're getting into that type of role, and kind of, honing in on those professional or powerhouse of transferable skills that you have. So that's your professional currency. And it's important because, and we'll get into that into the next session, but you're really competing against a lot of automation these days. So I really want you guys to really understand that. Okay.
One quick thing, Tiffany, just to go back to Simmons. I know he mentioned, he really likes driving. That's what he's interested in. It's very possible that a delivery position in cannabis definitely will not require a CDL license. And in that capacity, theoretically, there should be no problem. There should not be a drug test component to a job delivering cannabis if it doesn't require kind of a vehicle that requires a CDL, to Jamani's point.
And
so there could be opportunities out there separate from those instances where a drug test is still allowed. Sorry, Tiffany, go ahead.
No, and I love that, Dan, because it's so important. It really is based on the employer. So I'm happy Dan said that because I was kind of going to lean to it, but it really is based on the employer. And we're in this space where some people, like Dan said, they may consume their stuff, whatever the kid there, as long as you're safe and they're practicing safety, and it's not like Dan said a commercial vehicle, then you could be okay. So I think it would be based on the employer. And that goes back to what Dan said of the type of questions you want to ask in the interview and how you're gauging that interview. So I'm so happy that you guys found this valuable. I really appreciate your time today. This was recorded and it will be available in the coming weeks. I hope you join us for our next session in 2024. Happy New Year's, you guys. And yeah, thank you so much. I will be following up with the resources from today's session. I wish you all a beautiful Saturday, and you have a good one. Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Happy New Year.
Bye-bye.
Happy New Year.